Detroit Lions fans, welcome into the Den. The Den is a place you come, you sit here, you talk some Detroit Lions football like you're talking with your guys or your gals at the bar. This is a safe place. You know what today is? It's just a few weeks away from Detroit Lions training camp. Like it is July, it's football season. We are there. Now, we don't have any games in July, but we do have training camp coming up on the 20th and the 23rd. I keep saying it. I have a countdown. I'm looking at the calendar, counting down the days until training camp when we're putting some pads on, get to see the boys back on the field. We got some games later in August, so we got another month for kind of ish real football. And the NFL kicks off in about 2 months, a little bit more than 2 months away from September 8th, Sunday Night Football against the Rams. So with training camp coming up, I got 5 names I'm looking at going into training camp. Now, I'm not going to do a full 10, 15-minute spiel on each player. I got 5 names. I'm going to throw them off. I'm going to make a couple statements. I'm going to let you guys leave some comments. We'll have a discussion down there and talk about it. Number one, and this is not in any order, just on the top of my list, ironically, when I say number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this is not a ranking show, just some names I'm throwing out there. Number 1, the most intriguing player for me this year, James Houston. Now I sigh and I take a deep breath before I say his name because I know I've scrutinized him. I know I've kind of not been as high on him as some other people. But when it comes to a pass rush, I think that's what he's going to bring to the table. I think if he can play that Sam linebacker position, I don't think he's going to play defensive end, but if he rushes from the outside on the same side as Marcus Davenport, I feel bad for the left tackle having to block Marcus Davenport, and I feel even worse for the tight end / running back that has to try to cover and block James Houston because he's called the problem for a reason. A left tackle will be able to block him. A running back, very, very, very slim chance. He better go low, try to take out his knees and time it. Just do it cleanly. That's all I ask. Let's not go out here and injure our guys again. I think James Houston, we had a lot of praise and a lot of high hopes for him last year. He got hurt. I think it was in the Seattle game. It was on a stupid special teams play. Like, I don't even know why James Houston was on special teams. I don't know. It doesn't make sense, but we're over it going into year 3. His rookie season absolutely blew up. What do you have, like 8 sacks in 7 games? Almost killed Josh Allen, almost ripped Trevor Lawrence's leg off. Like, this was a guy that was flying up radars going into last season because of how well he played as a rookie. So I think him being healthy, getting that ankle, leg, whatever it was that he tweaked up last year, getting that healthy. And listen, I know he's a liability in coverage. He's not going to go out there and absolutely shut down a running back and stick with them stride for stride. It's just not going to happen. But you could put him on the field on third and 8, 3rd and 9, 10 or longer, whatever it may be, and say, hey, I know James Houston's coming. You might look at that as an advantage for the offense. You have to stop it. Offense is about execution. Defense is about disruption. That's always been what I was taught as a kid when I was growing up. Like, I played defense. I don't want to go out there and be fancy. I want to go out there and disrupt stuff. That's what defense is trying to do. They're trying to disrupt your timing, your steps. They're trying to disrupt everything. That's what defenses do. So I'm looking at James Houston. He's number 1 on the list, but again, not a ranking show. Number 2, offensive player, Donovan Peoples-Jones. How is he going to take over for Josh Reynolds, who we lost to the Denver Broncos? And say what you want about Josh Reynolds. I say it all the time. I say it every time I mention his name. He had his worst moment at the worst possible time in the NFC Championship game. Other than that, we didn't have to talk about Josh Reynolds. He was very, very solid for the Detroit Lions. He was a nice comfort blanket at that X position for Jared Goff. So Donovan Peoples-Jones has to step into that same role and at a bare minimum put up the same type of production that Josh Reynolds did. And I think DPJ can do a little bit more. I'm very familiar with him coming from Michigan. That's my team. Featured in a run-heavy offense, similar-ish to the Lions. The Lions want to run the football. We want to dominate the trenches. We want to have our 2 running backs just take over the game. But we obviously know that it's the NFL. You still have to pass the ball. Donovan Peoples-Jones is going to have a big role. 6'2", 210 pounds, I think. So he's a big body receiver. He's athletic. We've seen him on punt return. I think he even returned a few punts when he was with the Browns. Like, he's athletic. He can do a lot of things. I don't think he's going to do punt return. I really like Khalif Raymond in that role, but I'm saying if we get in a bind, something happens, you can throw Donovan Peoples-Jones back there and not have to worry about it. I really think DPJ is going to thrive in the red zone. I said it a couple episodes ago. I think it was when I was talking about Jared Goff as the MVP, and a lot of people had some not nice things to say about me just asking a few questions. Like, that's what we do here. It's content creation. I have to come up with scenarios and things for the Detroit Lions that are somewhat interesting to talk about. That's what we do until we get some real football here. Trust me, I'm dying to talk about game days and recaps and all that. Those are my favorite episodes to do. But this is what we're stuck with for now. I have to come up with some creative stuff. I do try, believe it or not. The Lions, when they get in the red zone, they want to just turn around, hand the ball off to David Montgomery, have him run for 7-8 yards inside the 10, wherever we may be, score a touchdown. That's great. That's fine. It's on tape. A lot of teams know we want to do that. You still have to show up and stop it. It's hard to do. Donovan Peoples-Jones on the outside against a smaller 5'10", 5'9" corner. Who do you like in that matchup? 6'2" DPJ or a corner who's 5'10"? I might throw a couple jump balls his way. That's just me, though. Number 3. I think I'm most excited about him on my list. And if I were to rank him, I think this would have been my number 1. It's the rookie from Alabama, Terrion Arnold. Listen, we have been waiting for corners to come to the Detroit Lions who can play press man coverage for a long time. We haven't had it since really Darius Slay. It's been a while. It's been a couple minutes. We possibly have 2 of those corners now with Carlton Davis and Terrion Arnold. So it's exciting. Obviously, we know Davis is going to be cornerback 1, and I don't care, cornerback 1, 2, whatever you want to put him on the depth chart. I don't care. We got 2 guys who are going to go out there and play very, very physical outside cornerback play in Terrion Arnold and Davis with the other team's receivers. Now, not many teams have 2 absolute stud receivers. Like there are some teams in the NFL, and we're going to play some of them. We match up pretty well, better than we did last year where we had Cam Sutton out there, where we had Jerry Jacobs, who kind of looked good sometimes. Like, man, we all got really excited. And then there were some times where it didn't look so good. I'll just say that and be nice. And then we pick up Kindle Vildor, the face mask situation, bounces off his face. Like, we didn't have guys who were ready to step up when some injuries happen. I get it. We lost Emmanuel Mosley. We were out CJ Gardner-Johnson for most of the year. So our secondary was a little depleted. So we really revamped it this offseason in free agency, trading for Carlton Davis, drafting Terrion Arnold, drafting Ennis Rakestraw, Amik Robertson, like moving Bryant Branch to safety. Our secondary is going to be very, very good. I truly am excited to watch them. So Terrion Arnold, Alabama, cornerback, rookie, probably number 1 on my list, but I just happen to have him in the 3rd spot here. Number 4, Christian Mahogany, another rookie from BC. Very, very excited to watch. Now, I don't think he's going to start. I don't think he's going to start at all. I don't want him to start. I don't think he's ready to start. But I've said in a previous episode that I'm curious to see what happens if we have a Frank Ragnow. You know, Frank's getting up there. He's got that toe injury he's battling with. If he has to take a game and we have to move Graham Glasgow over to center, who's going to be taking over for Graham Glasgow? Coyote Owasikwa, maybe Dan Skipper. I know he's mostly a tackle, Colby Swordsdal, or Christian Mahogany, an absolute mauler in the run game. I put out a stat on his episode that I did the other day. I think it was like 394 snaps, and he only gave up 7 QB pressures his last year at BC, something like that. It's absolutely crazy. So I'm looking at him, watching that battle at that guard position. He's not going to play center. So I'm watching to see who's going to win that battle of just in case. I don't want to see Mahogany in a game. I don't want to see him after the preseason. I just want him tuned up, ready to go if something is to happen. So let's see if he can win that battle. Like, he's going to get some guys that have some NFL experience. So him coming in as a rookie, he's a little bit behind the 8 ball, but I think he'll come in and compete. I think he'll be that backup guard. I possibly. We'll see. I don't know. I'm very curious about him, so I'm trying to be careful with how I rank him in my guard rankings, I guess. Last on my list, I've seen a lot of people talking about him, and I'm pretty excited with the offseason he's had. I'm pretty excited with the work he's put in, the dedication to the game. Broderick Martin, 2nd-year guy, 3rd-round draft pick from Western Kentucky. If you are not familiar with him, he was a bigger boy than he was this coming season. He is this guy. I'm not trying to body shame even a little bit, but he looks pretty damn good compared to last season. Like, he's lost some of that baby weight, that big baby weight. He looks pretty chiseled, I'll say, for a bigger boy. If he can learn his technique, let Terrell Williams get his hands on him, get a year in the pros like he had last year where he can just kind of sit, watch, get coached up. I need to see Broderick Martin at least in pads. I've said I don't expect him to be a a Pro Bowler or a Hall of Famer or to lead the Detroit Lions in sacks, but I look for him to be a role player that we can plug in there on that second defensive line, second string, and just do what we do well on the defensive line. Stop the run, get pressures up the middle. I feel like that's what we really need on this team, and we're going to get that with DJ Reader. But when DJ needs a break, who are we going to be bringing in? It's either Broderick Martin or I think Levi Onwuzurike. I did an episode on both of these guys if you want to check that out. I think it was last week, so you shouldn't have to look too far for it. Talking about Broderick and Levi, kind of a make or break year for Levi. So I'm really looking at Broderick Martin and him as who's going to come in when Aleem McNeil and DJ Reader need a breather. It's Broderick Martin. This is your time to shine. You were drafted in the third round. Like, this is the perfect role for you. Third round guy. I expect you to get some meaningful snaps. That would be meaningful. If one of our starters has to come out for a series and take a break, like, I need you to come in. It's getting to be time. I know it's only been 1 year, but you know, it's the NFL. And it's a show me something business. If you're just standing on the sidelines, you're not really showing me something, guys. So I am really excited for him. I love the work he's putting in. I feel like he's dedicated to the game. I need to see a full season of practice, training camp, all that. I want to see how he looks. I'll be at some practices when I can. Training camp starts in a couple weeks, guys. So hit that like button, stick around. I'll be back later with another show.